Welcome back to Court TV Live. It is day 3 here in Tallahassee, Florida for the case against Donna Adelson that we have been all watching together. Court just got started again inside of this case where the defendant, Donna Adelson, is accused of conspiring with her son, Charlie Adelson, to kill her daughter's ex-husband, law professor Dan Markel. He was shot to death while sitting in his car in the garage of his home in Tallahassee. And this all happened back in 2014. This case is 11 years old, and it is now that someone that the prosecution says was the top of the chain in this plot is standing trial. The defense says that there's no evidence that she had anything to do with the planning. The next witness on the stand for the state is a fraud examiner, someone who investigated the finances of this family. Let's listen to Mary Hull on the stand.
Good afternoon. Will you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your name for the court reporter, please?
Yes, my name is Mary Hull, M-A-R-Y-H-U-L-L.
Where do you currently work?
The Executive Office of the Governor in the Chief Inspector General's office.
And where did you work when you first became involved in this case?
The Department of Financial Services in the Office of Fiscal Integrity.
And what was your role there and in your current job?
Currently, I'm an auditor. In the position in DFS, I was a financial investigator.
All right, and were you a financial investigator with DFS back in the summer of 2016?
Yes.
Okay, as a financial investigator there, did you investigate economic crimes?
We did. It was a criminal investigative unit for the state of Florida.
And how long did you work in investigations there?
Investigations there 7 years.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your education and your experience in order to be a financial investigator?
Sure. I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in finance from Florida State University. I'm a certified fraud examiner in good standing with the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. I have 22 years of financial analysis, auditing, and financial investigative work for both the state of Florida and the United States Attorney's Office.
And has much of that 20 years been doing white-collar crime investigations?
10 years I did white-collar crime investigations to include money laundering, contract fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement.
Okay, and were these like multi-agency financial investigations for both state courts and federal?
There were several that were multi-agency investigations. I did both state and federal at the same time. But I also worked at the United States Attorney's Office for 3 years, and we did all criminal economic crime there.
And what's your specific area of expertise? Is it forensic accounting?
Yes, I do forensic accounting, which is a very detailed analysis of financial records to be used in court.
You mentioned that you're a certified fraud examiner. What does that mean?
You have to take special training to actually be certified to do financial crime.
And are you in good standing with the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners?
I am.
While a financial investigator, did you also receive in-service training?
I did. As a criminal investigator, additional training in search and seizure requirements, the handling of evidence, the chain of custody protocol, as well as witness interviewing techniques.
And have you ever testified in court about your analysis of financial records?
I have.
About how many times?
21 times in court.
Okay, those are all my questions as to this witness's qualifications, Judge.
The defense wishes to voir dire the witness. Is there any objection to her ability to provide an opinion in the field of, I believe this is for
forensic accounting.
Forensic accounting.
No objection.
Members of the jury, the witness will be permitted to testify today in the area or provide an opinion in the field of forensic accounting while she testifies today. You may continue.
So you mentioned that you first became involved in this case when you were working for DFS back in 2016. What was your role? What was your responsibility?
So I looked at all of the bank records. Specifically was my first look at the records to analyze and detail everything that happened in those accounts.
I'm sorry. Please speak out in this hall and we have problems hearing you.
Sorry. I did all the financial analysis for the bank records, as well as I did some iCloud records and emails and other documents that would come through DHSMV records.
Okay, so did you look at a lot of different records in this case to see to see what the banking habits were, whether there was any spike in cash, and whether there was any link between the parties?
Yes.
I want to ask you about, first kind of go through several of the things you reviewed in this case, and then ask you questions about your review. Did you review States Exhibit 68, which is going to be the Adelson Institute's subpoena response?
Yes.
Okay. And that was in reference to Catherine Magbanaway's employment?
It was.
And were those records from September of 2014 to 2016?
That sounds correct.
May of 2016, in fact.
Yes.
Okay. Did you also review States Exhibit 75, which is Dr. Rudner's records for a breast augmentation for Catherine Magbanaway?
I did.
Did you also review 76, State 76, which is Broward dermatology records for possible Magbanaway employment from there?
Yes.
Okay, and are those records from July of 2015 to March of 2016?
Yes.
Moving on to Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. Did you review State 69, which is going to be the records for the Lexus acquired by Catherine Magbanaway, and 77, 78, 79, and 80, which are vehicle and motorcycle records for Sigfredo Garcia and Luis Rivera?
I did.
Did you review bank accounts for the Adelson family?
I did.
Does that include accounts for Harvey Adelson, Donna Adelson, Wendy Adelson, and Charlie Adelson?
Yes.
And I won't go through all those accounts, but did you review checking and savings accounts for them, personal and professional accounts for them, as well as investment accounts?
That's correct.
And how many total investment accounts did you review?
I believe there was 24 total investment accounts.
Okay, so a lot of different accounts you reviewed for each person in the family.
Yes.
Okay. And were several of those accounts that more than one family member was on at a time?
Yes.
Did you also review credit cards for the Adelson family, specifically States 111 and a portion of those records, 111A, which are Capital One and Amex records for Charlie Adelson?
I did.
Did you also review States 110, which is Adelson Institute bank records from Regions Bank?
I did.
Did you also review States Exhibit 106, which is going to be a checking and savings account for Luis Rivera from Chase Bank from 2014 to 2015?
Yes.
Did you also review States 107, a Bank of America records from Garcia's account from 2015 to 2016?
Yes.
Did you also review State 74, which is employment records from Coastal Masonry for Sigfredo Garcia from 2009 to 2014?
Yes.
Did you also review States 108 A and B and 109 A and B, which are Bank of America accounts and JP Morgan Chase accounts, respectively, for Catherine Magbanaway from 2013 to 2017?
Yes.
Did you also review States 82, which are copies of 44 checks from Adelson Institute deposited into Magbanaway's bank account?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity before court today, so you didn't have to do it now, to review all of those records that we just talked about, to assure yourself that they were the same as the one you reviewed?
Yes.
Okay, and did all of those records that you reviewed come with a certification attached to them, certifying them to be official records from each respective company or business?
Yes.
At this time, Judge, I would enter into evidence States 68, 75, 76, 69, 77 through 80, 106, 107, 108 A and B, 109 A and B, 110, 74, and 82.
Any objection to the items being offered?
Yeah, just a real quick, Judge.
Go ahead. need you to go through the item numbers one more time, please.
Sure. So we're going to have 69.
What did that sound? Once again, please turn the phones off or turn the sound off. I don't expect to hear any phones in this courtroom. You may continue, Ms. Dugan.
68, 69, 74 through 81, 82. I'm sorry, let's hold off on 81. So 74 through 80, 82, 106 through 111A.
Fulford, does the defense have an objection to these items being admitted?
I got out of number order. If you just give me one more second, please. No objection, Judge.
The item numbers are admitted as previously stated with the exception of States 81. You may continue.
Thank you. Did you also review, you mentioned iClouds as far as written communications, whether that be emails or text messages between the parties to determine the financial relationship between them or whether there are any money or gift transfers between them?
I did.
Okay, and did you also review those items to determine how the Adelson family received or kept their cash?
Yes.
All of the records that we talked about today so far, is the amount of data in all of those records pretty voluminous?
Yes.
Are you going to be relying on a summary of all of the records that you've reviewed today for your testimony?
I am.
Okay, and did you review before court today, this notebook states 81, which is a summary of your findings from all the records that you reviewed?
Yes.
All right, while the fraud examiner gets together those records and that summary for this jury, remember the money is big in this case because the defense is saying there's only motive evidence. There's not any actual evidence of planning. The finances may go to that issue much more. We'll find out what the hitmen bought with their portion of the payment after this.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, prosecutors continue building their case against Donna Adelson. We're unpacking today's key testimony as our experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Friday nights, the WNBA is on ION.
There's the magic right there.
The wings soar to the dream. Then sparks fly when the fever hits the coast. Coverage begins Friday night at 7. Find ION wherever you watch. ION, it's on.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae. Thank you for following along with us as we are going back into the Tallahassee courtroom where we have been following day 3 of the case against Donna Adelson, the murder mastermind trial, where Donna is the 5th person to be charged in the 2014 murder of her former son-in-law, who was an FSU professor, Dan Markel. The prosecution here says that Markel was involved in a bitter custody battle with the Adelson daughter, Wendy, who's already testified in this case, and they say it's that custody battle that spurred this plot. The Adelson son, Charlie, and 3 others were also charged, and they've already been found guilty. We've heard from one of them on the stand, Luis Rivera, and inside we're hearing from a financial investigator, Mary Hull, who's going to tell us about Rivera's finances around the time of Daniel Markel's murder.
And is it a true and accurate copy of a true and accurate copy of the results from your findings?
Yes, it is.
Okay. At this time, Judge, I would move State's Exhibit 81 into evidence as a summary.
Any objection?
If I can just look real quick, Judge.
Go ahead. State's 81 is admitted at this time.
Thank you. And just for the record, that's going to be a composite exhibit. Now, in this composite State's 81, for each of the graphs that we see that were created, after each graph, is there also information from the accounts kind of showing your work of how you made those findings?
Yes.
Okay. And is there a PowerPoint that's been created showing the graphs in the case that report your results?
Yes.
All right. Judge, I'd ask for permission to use a demonstrative in this case, which is going to be a demonstrative of parts of the records and the witness's graphs in this case.
You may proceed.
Okay. Now, the graphs that we see, we're not going to see portions of the records in the notebook on the PowerPoint, right?
Yes.
Okay. But those portions are in the notebook. If the jury wants to review them in the jury room, they're there for each graph.
Yes.
Which is what I'm saying is the portion that's kind of showing your work for each graph.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so you mentioned that one of the set of records that you looked at was Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle records for some of these subjects. Did you review the Department of Highway Safety Motor Vehicle records for Luis Rivera?
I did.
And what, if any, vehicles did Rivera acquire after the murder of Dan Markel on July 18th of 2014?
He purchased a 2003 Suzuki motorcycle on July 28, 2014, and a 1996 Toyota Camry on July 31st, 2014.
And here are these pictures from the social media records in this case of Luis Rivera and Garcia on motorcycles.
Yes, it is.
And the one that Rivera's on is on a yellow motorcycle.
Yes.
Looking at Luis Rivera's bank accounts in this case, the Chase bank account from May 2014 to November of 2015, were his checks from his workplace direct deposited into that account?
They were.
About how much was direct deposited every week?
Every week was about $500 or $600.
And where were his paychecks coming from?
Coastal Masonry.
So he had a steady job at Coastal Masonry throughout the time that you reviewed his bank records for in 2014 and 2015?
Yes.
What did you learn about how his banking patterns or banking habits changed following the murder of Dan Markel?
Yeah, he had a very interesting banking pattern. All his bank checks were deposited into his account, but then he would go by and withdraw virtually all of it. And he had certain preset auto drafts that would come in, and then they would bounce because there wouldn't be any money in the account. So he had a lot of overdraft charges.
And how did that change after the murder of Dan Markel?
Right after the murder, he all of a sudden left the money in the account, and then nothing overdrafted for about 4 months.
When was his last large cash withdrawal before the murder of Dan Markel?
It was 7/15/2014.
And you said it was about 4 months then that his old habits of
Yeah, the next overdraft didn't happen until November 1st of 2014.
And what do we see here?
So this is a visual depiction of his bank account showing the overdrafts. The red bars are the overdraft amounts that happens, the number, on the specific days. And then you can see that big wide span in the middle where there's no red bars. And then it picks back up in the first part of November. I will add that even though it's not on this chart, that the car and the motorcycle was purchased in that section where there were no overdrafts.
So in the same section where there's no overdraft, he's also acquiring those vehicles, and he doesn't have any overdrafts from the time of the murder until about 4 months later.
That's correct.
And could that be indicative of him having another source of cash during that time?
Yes.
All right, moving on to Sigfredo Garcia. Tell us what you saw when you looked at the DHS-MV records for Garcia.
Yes, he purchased a 1997 Honda Racer on July 26, 2014, a 1984 Monte Carlo on August 22nd, 2014, and a Nissan Maxima on October 17th, 2014.
Okay, so we didn't find a picture of the Maxima, but that's kind of how a Maxima of that style would look here?
Yes, it was a sedan.
Okay, and then the Monte Carlo is on the two-toe Dade account here?
Yes, that's correct, in blue.
Okay, and then we see his yellow motorcycle all the way to the right of the screen.
All right, you hear the prosecutor there asking about these items that Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia would have purchased, including a motorcycle, a 1996 Honda. Let's bring in our guest who is standing by to talk quickly about this. We have with us attorney from New York City, trial attorney Mackenzie Joy Brennan is with us. Mackenzie, great to have you on. I want to ask you this because we're hearing a lot of names that are not Donna Adelson right now. We're all going to continue to listen. But if she doesn't ever get to the point where Donna paid anything before the murder of Dan Markel, perhaps she helped with payments afterward, does that equal reasonable doubt for a solicitation or conspiracy charge?
Yeah, it very well could. I was thinking the same thing as I'm listening to this testimony. The biggest connection that I could make is the testimony from the estranged brother, or Donna's son, Rob, yesterday, that Donna was always the one to sign off on the checks. So that's pretty attenuated in and of itself to connect to these financial records. Obviously, we haven't seen the end of this witness's testimony. We haven't seen the end of the case in chief, so who knows if they'll make those connections more strongly. But, you know, electronic documents and these types of financial records especially tend to be more likely to make juries' eyes glaze over because it's just data. I mean, look at the last chart that she pulled up. To connect that he's making fewer overdrafts, and presumably that is proof that this is a new financial boon to him, that it's not the normal pattern. Those are a lot of jumps that the jury has to make, and obviously I assume they'll draw those connections better in closing at the very least, but it leaves a lot of opportunities for doubt for the jury. On the other hand, I thought some of the testimony, especially from yesterday, was pretty damning from the children and then from the ex-boyfriend of Wendy. Those made some pretty strong connections, so maybe pairing them together and kind of burying this financial witness within those more compelling stories is a decent strategy. I guess we'll see.
Sure, and initially when they did this trial 2 years ago with Charlie Adelson, Catherine McBanoa, who received those checks allegedly from Donna Adelson, she came after this witness. So we'll see how they order things this time around. Mackenzie, stand by. We're going to take our break. When we come back, we've got more of day 3 of the case against Donna Adelson happening here in the Leon County Courthouse after this. Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are coming to you live from Tallahassee, Florida, where just inside this courthouse is the day 3 of the trial against Donna Adelson. We'll get you back into court there in just a minute. But we do want to keep you updated on this case that's happening out in California for music sensation Cardi B. She is dealing with a civil assault trial, and she's expected to take the stand today. The star rapper is being accused of striking a security guard during a prenatal appointment that she was having when she was about 4 months pregnant. She claims that this altercation was merely a brief verbal argument and denies any physical contact, but that hasn't stopped her from being sued by this guard. Earlier today, before testimony got underway, the attorneys for both parties got into some heated arguments. Let's take a listen to that.
So, in the middle of the trial, when I'm not able to depose this person and do nothing with her, they're just going to randomly throw out this person. Well, let's bring this person into trial. It's not fair, Your Honor.
All right. I'm going to start with the prejudice argument, which is that they didn't know who these people were. Actually, plaintiff testified yesterday that within a few weeks of this February 2018 incident, she called Ms. Malcolm. She worked in the building. She knew Ms. Malcolm. She knew Dr. Finke, who came out. And they didn't identify them. They knew them and they didn't identify them. So to say that, well, he's been prejudiced because he didn't take their depositions, she's known since 2018 who the doctor was and who Tiara was.
I'm declaring under penalty of perjury. I did not go into his doctor's office.
Okay.
That is an absolute lie and false.
Okay.
And I don't think that's right.
So that's just a little bit of what's going on today. We are going to continue to bring you updates throughout the day here on Court TV Live, but you can also stream this case live on CourtTV.com and on our YouTube page. For now, let's take you back inside of the Leon County Courthouse, where I am right now. It's day 3 of the Matriarch Mastermind murder trial for defendant Donna Adelson, where she stands accused of killing her ex-son-in-law, Dan Markel. The prosecution says she was at the top of this plot that involved her own son, Charlie Adelson, his ex-girlfriend, Catherine McBanawa, and 2 hitmen that we are hearing about inside of the courtroom. There's a fraud examiner, financial investigator that's testifying about all of the money and how it's connected. And she's just talked about how right after the murder, she saw the purchases from those hitmen of motorcycles and cars. She's going to get into what was going on with the Adelson money at the time. Let's watch.
And so those were all purchased within 3 months of the murder?
That's correct.
And can you tell us about Garcia's bank accounts?
There was not a bank account located during the time or shortly after the murder. He did have one. From June 15th to July 16th.
Okay, so from June of 2015 to July 2016, he established a bank account and maintained it.
Yes.
All right, and during that time, was he having paychecks being direct deposited into that account?
Yes.
From what company?
He was employed at Rapid Capital Funding at that time.
Okay. But before June 2015, there were no bank records that we could find to review for Garcia.
There was no account located for him.
All right. And did he work regularly in 2014, around the time of the murder?
Actually, his employment record, at least with Coastal Masonry, was very sporadic. He worked 2 months from February of 9 to December of 2009. In April 2010 to July 2010, he worked 3 months. October from 2012 to August of 2013, he worked 10 months. In April of 14, he worked 1 month.
Okay, and we have no record of him being employed at the time of the murder.
No.
So both Luis Rivera and Garcia both worked for Coastal Masonry. Rivera's job was consistent and steady, and Garcia's was more sporadic.
Correct.
All right. For Catherine McBanawa, did she already own a car according to the DHS-MV records at the time of the murder?
She did.
And what type of car was that?
That was
I might be able to show you something to help move it along. Sorry, if you're having trouble finding it.
Yeah.
Did you, when you were reviewing the messages in this case, did you find some evidence that Charlie Adelson helped her financially with a car that she had in 2014?
Yes.
Okay, and was that car, in these messages, did they refer to this car as her needing to get it fixed, the parts alone are expensive, and she's asking, I need a loan, buddy, frowny face?
That's correct.
Okay, and does she say, you know, just imagine if I took it to another mechanic?
Yes.
All right, did Charlie Adelson in the messages have a mechanic that was a friend of his that he would refer people, especially Catherine McBanois, to?
He did.
And was that person named Sully?
Yes, it was.
And does Charlie Adelson then respond, LOL, you'll be fine, I got you. I just texted Sully my CC.
That's correct.
And she says, stop paying for S word, she misspells it, on your card?
Yes.
And this was in November of 2014?
It is.
Okay. So he's offering to give her the loan she wants and is texting Sully what appears to be his credit card number.
That's correct.
All right. In May of 2015, are they still discussing her car repairs?
Yes, they are. And it says it's a Mazda.
Okay. So in this one, she needs her time. He says you need your belt changed. Just bring it to Mazda. And does he offer to take care of it for her?
Yes.
And she's saying yes, she needs to take it ASAP?
Yes.
And what do we see here in November of 2015?
This is a text message exchange about him paying for the repairs for that car.
Okay. And in this exchange, Charlie Adelson is continuing to offer to put these repairs on his credit card?
Yes.
And this is Charlie Adelson words in blue and Catherine McBanois words in green?
That's correct.
And at the end of that conversation, does Catherine McBanois let Charlie Adelson know how much the repairs ended up being?
Yes.
And what was the amount?
$1,650.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm on the next page. I think you are correct at the bottom of that.
That's what he authorized to put on his card, but the actual payment was for $1,620.77.
Okay, thank you. So looking at the bottom of this exchange, Catherine McBanois estimates, she says, just put $1,630, and Charlie Adelson offers, how about I put $1,650?
Yes.
So he offers, I'll even pay $30 more.
Yes.
And then she says it came out to $1,620. She says, thanks again, I'll pay you back. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then when you looked at Charlie Adelson's Amex, what did you find?
I found the payment to Mazda for the $1,620.77.
At the end of 2015, after all these repairs and Charlie Adelson offering to help her financially with these repairs, at the end of 2015, does it appear that Catherine McBanois got a different car?
She did.
And what's the first indication of that?
There was the title. We looked up for the GHSMV records and saw where it was purchased.
Okay. Were there also messages?
All right, we have to hit our break. A few of you have asked on social media about Donna Adelson wearing those headphones, and I can tell you from being inside of that courtroom, it's not easy to hear everything that's happening, just the acoustics in that room. You hear it better watching it on Court TV than you do inside of the courtroom because everyone's microphone is going straight into our audio. So with those headphones, she's able to hear everything a lot crisper. And we understand she has some issues with her ears. She mentioned some small ear canals and some filings in the past. Let's get to a break, and when we come back, we have more of the trial of Donna Adelson here in Tallahassee, Florida.
The queen come through, y'all better move back. Cardi B is back in the courtroom, facing civil allegations for allegedly attacking a security guard.
The Cardi B assault trial. Trial coverage today on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, prosecutors continue building their case against Donna Adelson. We're unpacking today's key testimony as our experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan, tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We're coming to you live from the Leon County Courthouse, where we are watching together testimony in the case against Donna Adelson. And we're picking it up where we left off with a financial investigator who was taking these jurors through the finances of people around the time of the murder of this man, Dan Markel. He was a law professor and father of 2, gunned down in his own driveway. And that financial investigator has talked about the hitmen who took his life, who have already been convicted in this case. The question now is whether his ex-mother-in-law, Donna Adelson, was involved in that plot. Let's go in.
Were there also messages where they discuss basically her having the Lexus now? Charlie Adelson needs to cancel his insurance on the Lexus.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, can you go through what we see here?
This is where he's discussing on December 14, 2015, that he's canceling the Lexus insurance. And she said she would get to it. She has the kids, she would do it later. And then he says, I just paid for it.
Okay. And in these messages, when he says he's going to cancel the Lexus insurance today on December 14th of 2015, does he say, just spoke to my mom, she's paying the insurance now, just please go this Saturday, smiley face?
Yes.
And that's when she's saying, I'll do it, I've got my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes,
then does Charlie Adelson then say, just paid it, they'll prorate it back to us, just go Saturday, don't rush today? And she's saying, I'll take care of it, don't worry.
Yes.
Does he say, already paid it 5 minutes ago, just chill, you are still the best?
That's correct.
You mentioned the DHS-MV records in this case. What do we see here?
This is showing that the title transfer between Harvey and Catherine.
And what date did this take place?
This says
let me see if I can zoom in a little.
January 23rd, 2016. It's on the right-hand side.
Right here?
Yes, January 23rd, 2016.
Okay. And what type of vehicle was that?
That was a Lexus.
A 2001 Lexus?
Black 4-door, that's correct.
And the previous owner is listed as Harvey Jerome Adelson?
Yes.
How much did this DHS-MV title indicate that it was sold to Magbanois for?
$1,700.
And that's there on the right side of the screen?
Yes.
Were you able to find any record of payment from Catherine Magbanois to any of the Adelsons for this vehicle?
No.
Did you search all her accounts?
Yes.
Was there any check, or maybe she just withdrew that amount of cash? Was there any cash withdrawal for that amount?
Nothing that correlated.
Were you able to find any deposit into, if she, let's say she already had that cash at home, any deposit into the Adelson's account for that amount?
No.
Was there, in a little while, we'll see that she was receiving money from Adelson Institute, correct?
That's correct.
Was there any drop in the money she was receiving from Adelson Institute in that time to account for maybe this was just taken out of her salary?
No.
Can you insure a vehicle without transferring title?
No.
Do you have to put a sales price or list it as a gift on the title transfer?
That's correct.
If you say it's a sale on the title transfer, are you taxed?
Yes.
Is there a financial benefit for listing a really low sales price on a title transfer for a vehicle?
Yes, it makes the registration fees less.
And who decides what number goes on the title?
Normally, it's usually the seller that's supposed to put that on there, but all the transactions I've ever heard of, they just leave it blank and let the buyer put in the amount.
So just the person who's submitting it to the tax office so they can later get their car insured?
That's correct.
So if I sell a car to you for $3,000, but we agree to put $300 on the title transfer, we would pay less taxes on it?
Yes.
Looking at other written communications between Charlie Adelson and Catherine McBanois, did it appear that Charlie Adelson provided other financial assistance or gifts to Catherine McBanois?
Yes.
I was trying to go to the next slide, but I think I got to zoom out first. What do we see here in Charlie Adelson's Amex records?
So this is a purchase of airline tickets for Catherine McBanois on March 6, 2015 for a flight to Santo Domingo, and that was $970.74.
And the passenger name is there at the bottom, Catherine McBanois?
Yes.
Okay, other than these $970 worth of airline tickets to Santo Domingo, were there other evidence of financial assistance or gifts?
Yes, there was.
Looking here on October 19th.
All right, we've reached the top of the hour, so we do have to get to our break. Before we do that, let's bring back in trial attorney Mackenzie Joy Brennan. Mackenzie, we're hearing more about the Adelsons now. Even someone who's inside of that courtroom who has not been charged at all in this case, Harvey Adelson, his Lexus given at a steal to someone who has been convicted in this case. You saw the camera go over to him. But talk about if you think we're getting there in terms of what the financial investigator is telling jurors.
I think in a weird way, it's a race against time before we lose the jurors' attention on some of these really dry details, and whether we can see a connection that's really compelling to the Adelsons before they lose their focus. So, excuse my cat here. But I guess we'll see if the connection gets really strong to Donna herself. Harvey obviously is connected to her, and we had some foundation laid that he doesn't do much without her approving it. But you also heard Wendy really try to undercut that yesterday by saying, well, you know, they both are strong, they make their own decisions. So I don't know how much that's landed yet, and I don't know who else we'll hear from. So it could be strengthened as the trial goes on.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned those characteristics and the fact that they set up that she is the one running things in her household. That's what those lay witnesses were able to talk about. Mackenzie Joy Brennan, thank you for your analysis and expertise this hour. We have a lot more ahead, more testimony in the Matriarch Mastermind murder trial for Donna Adelson. Plus, we'll be checking in on the Cardi B civil assault trial happening out in California. All that after this on Court TV, your front row seat to justice. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae, coming to you live from Tallahassee, Florida, outside of the Leon County Courthouse, where it's day 3 in the case against Donna Adelson, the Matriarch Mastermind murder trial that we're following here. And it's all about what happened in Tallahassee back in 2014, the death of Dan Markel. He was a law professor and father of 2. And the prosecution says that Donna Adelson, his ex-mother-in-law, that she is behind the plot. But the defense says that the state put Donna at the top of the pyramid without any real evidence to back up their claims. Let's go into the courtroom now. We're listening to a financial investigator who has been telling this jury about what money moves were being made around the time of Dan Markel's death. She's already explained to them that the hitmen purchased big items after the killing of Markel. And now she's looking at the Adelson family and the things that they paid for the go-between woman who's been convicted, Catherine Mangbanwa. Let's go in.
2015.
This is a set of text messages from Catherine, between Catherine and Charlie, that she's asking for, she wants to take her kids. I'm sorry. You don't have to look up with plane tickets. I want to leave for Thanksgiving. I want to take my mom. It's her 60th on November 9th. And then he's discussing cruise options. She wants to take a trip with her mom.
Okay, so she wants to leave for Thanksgiving. She wants to take her mom too. It's her 60th birthday. And at the bottom he asks, where do you want to take your mom?
Correct. This is a continuation of the text messages where she says she wants to do something nice for her mom, and she may have days off on Thanksgiving.
Does she offer the fact that maybe I'll rent an RV and drive cross country?
She does.
And then what does Charlie Adelson offer to do about halfway down this page?
To get her a cruise for her and her mom.
And she agrees. I was thinking about a cruise too?
Yes.
And then he discusses, perfect, they have really nice ones, y'all can leave on a Friday, go to 2 ports, come back on a Monday morning, and you won't miss work?
That's correct.
Okay, and this is in October of 2015?
Yes.
And then does he continue to offer in that text messages, I think it would be super cool for you to go with just you and your mom from Friday to Monday on a Norwegian cruise. It leaves Friday at 4, comes back Monday at 7. Does that work for you? Let's look at dates. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So in that exchange, Mangbanwa mentioned something she might want to do. Charlie Adelson is the one offering to do this.
Yes.
In this message from May of 2015, is Catherine Mangbanwa saying she has a lot of things to pay for. She needs a little help because of her kids' tuition and stuff, and she had to stop her weekend job. She says, I hate asking.
That's right.
And he says, I will lend you whatever you need.
That's correct.
And then shortly after this text message exchange on May 20th, what do we see in the bank records?
We see an ATM cash deposit for $1,400 into Catherine Mangbanwa's account.
And was that a large amount of cash for her to deposit for her?
Yes.
These are some of the bigger items, but was there also, he would give her teeth whitening, he would give her, pay for meal plans for her, offer her rides in fancy cars, or her ability to lend or borrow fancy cars from him throughout these years?
Yes, he had a lot of supportive activity of her.
Looking at these records from Dr. Rudner's office, did Catherine Mangbanwa have a breast augmentation surgery in October of 2014?
She did.
And looking at this record here, how much was that breast augmentation surgery?
The total credit was $4,608.
Looking at the records, how was that paid? Oh, I'm sorry, let me go back. How was that paid? Was it paid by cash or credit card or both?
$4,400 was in cash, and then the $195 was on her credit card or debit card.
So what was the portion of that breast augmentation surgery that was paid in cash?
96%.
Are there corresponding withdrawals of cash from any of Catherine Mangbanwa's accounts to reach $4,400?
No.
Or even $4,000?
No.
Around that time or before that time?
No.
Did you actually add up all her cash withdrawals from January 2014 to October of 2014, and they only totaled a little over $2,000?
That's correct.
And what date was her surgery?
Surgery was looks like it was July. It was October
of 2014.
2014. October 18th, 2014.
Okay. All right, now I want to focus on Meg Banwell's bank records. Based on the bank records and employment records that you reviewed, were you able to ascertain where Catherine Meg Banwell may have worked or what business she received income from her bank records?
I did.
And what do we see here? Can you walk us through this?
So from the summary of the bank records, I was able to show through her deposits, her checks or employment that she had. So this is a schedule of the bank records from 2013 to 2016, showing her employment deposits.
And at the bottom here, do we see the name of each business that she received income from and the dates that she received income from those businesses?
Yes.
All right. Quintana Lopez, we see her at the bottom. Was she a realtor?
She was.
And we see another name, Jerome R. Obed. Was he a dermatologist who was a friend and former roommate of Charlie Adelson?
He is, or was.
Okay. And when, according to this, when did she work for Adelson Institute?
The first deposit that hit her account was October 7th, 2014, and the last one was May of 17 of 2016.
Okay. And that's when she received checks from Adelson Institute.
That's correct.
What do we have here?
So this shows the horizontal bars show her employment time frame, and then the murder and the bumper also showed on as a time frame.
When was her last check from Sophie Dental Care, the dental company she was working at before the murder?
The first part of July 2014.
Okay, and then she didn't have any more checks or didn't receive any more checks from them after that point?
That's correct.
Is there any record of her being employed anywhere at the time of the murder?
No.
And you said she began receiving checks from Adelson Institute about a little less than 3 months after the murder?
That's correct.
And she received checks from them until the last check was dated in May of 2016?
That's correct.
Did she receive any checks from any other company anytime between the time of the murder and when she received checks from Adelson Institute?
No.
And is Adelson Institute the Adelson family's dental practice?
It is.
Was it a financially successful dental practice?
Yes.
In 2012, did Charlie Adelson become the listed manager of Adelson Institute?
Yes.
And then in 2015, did the articles of organization change from both Charlie and Harvey being listed managers?
Yes.
And what date was that in 2015?
October 2nd, 2015.
Okay. Now, even though Charlie was the manager beginning in 2012 to October of 2015, was Harvey Adelson still employed as a dentist at Adelson Institute?
He was.
And received checks from there?
Yes.
In 2016, in July of 2016, did it change to only Harvey being the listed manager and Charlie being a registered agent?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, throughout all those years, 2012 to 2016, did Donna Adelson have signing authority for the Adelson Institute?
She did.
And what does that mean?
She had the ability to move money without having someone else approve it.
Was there evidence from Charlie Adelson's iCloud in reference to how or why McBanois began receiving income from Adelson Institute?
Yes, she was saying that she needed to show employment to get not only health insurance for her kid, but an apartment that she wanted to rent.
Okay, so looking at this text, is this a text from June 24th of 2014?
It is.
So this is about maybe 3 to 4 weeks before the murder of Dan Markel?
That's correct.
And in this text, does she say, baby, I'm going to need help on the employment info. I have to send to DCF for my kids' INS, INS. Could that be short for insurance?
Insurance.
Also, if I have to end up moving later on, I need to show I'm working for you or else I won't be able to get an apartment. Does she say that at 12:33 p.m.?
She did.
And what does he say back at 12:36?
No problem.
Okay, we're hitting the pause button on this testimony so we can slip in a break. We're just starting to hear about those checks that were written to Catherine McBanois over the course of 2 years after the death of Dan Markel. And we'll hear the answer to who signed all of those checks. That's next.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
Terrible. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The Matriarch Mastermind murder trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, prosecutors continue building their case against Donna Adelson. We're unpacking today's key testimony as our experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. We will get you back inside of the courtroom for the Adelson trial in just a moment, but we do have a quick update out of Georgia, a case that we've been following for weeks now. A jury is now deciding the fate of defendant A.J. Scott. And this jury, you see the clock now, they've been out deliberating for about 8 minutes. This is a former state trooper turned local town mayor, and he stands accused of killing 2 teenagers and seriously injuring 2 others after his car crashed into theirs back in 2015. He was not going to an emergency call, but his defense says that those teens failed to yield. We'll, of course, take you inside of the courtroom once the jury reaches a decision or if they have a question. But for now, we're turning our attention back to the Tallahassee courtroom where we are watching day 3 of the case against Donna Adelson. She stands accused in a murder for hire plot of her ex-son-in-law, Dan Markel. And the accusation is that she was so desperate to get her daughter relocated to Miami away from her then ex-husband that she went to great lengths, including trying to have him killed. Right now, we are listening to a state financial investigator, Mary Hull, who has been talking about the financial connections, how the son of Donna Adelson, Charlie Adelson, who's already been convicted, paid lots of different things, money, gifts, trips for Catherine McBanois, who was also convicted in this plot. So the question is, did Donna pay for anything? Let's go in.
No prob, short for no problem?
problem.
Okay. And is this a time when his mother is signing authority there?
That's correct.
And he's manager?
Yes.
And his dad is a dentist there?
Yes.
Now, during this time, was that Charlie Adelson's only form of income? Did he also have income from his other work as a periodontist?
Yes.
Okay. Would he receive income from other dental practices where he would travel around and do specialized work for them?
Yes.
And was that a successful periodontist practice?
Very successful.
I want to ask you about this text message. She says she needs employment to send a DCF for her kids' insurance, or if she moves later on. In order to rent an apartment, do people sometimes have to show proof of employment?
Yes.
In order to get public assistance, health insurance, do people need to show they're employed, but they don't make above a certain amount of money?
That's correct.
Did you review checks from Adelson Institute to Catherine McBanois?
I did.
And in what accounts did you find those checks?
They were deposited into Catherine McBanois, sometimes in her checking, but a couple of times they went into her savings.
Okay, and they were coming out of Adelson Institute's business account with Regions?
Yes.
How many total checks were there from Adelson Institute to Catherine McBanois?
There was 44 checks.
What do we see here?
This is a list of the checks that she received from the Adelson Institute.
Okay, so this is a summary of the checks.
It is.
Okay, but in evidence, as we kind of went through earlier, all of this will be back there in case the jury wants to see specific things, but 682 is a copy back in front of every check. Here it is, that Catherine McBanois received from Adelson Institute?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so in the summary here, what's included?
So it's the first row, just a number. The second column is a date, the date that it was posted to her bank account. The second column is a date of the check was written, and the check number, the payment amount, and what was in the memo column.
Were all of these checks deposited by Catherine McBanois into her account?
They were.
And who were each and every one of these checks signed by?
Donna Adelson was signing the checks.
Okay, are these examples of 3 of the checks in the exhibit?
It is.
Okay, but she signs all 44?
She does.
And you did say that she did have signing authority for the business during those years?
Yes.
In addition to signing these checks from McBanois, did Donna Adelson also sign all the other checks to the Adelson Institute employees, their front desk people, their hygienists, the dentists,
yes.
All of the people who work there?
Yes.
Was she the person who did payroll every month?
That's correct.
And looking back at this summary, you mentioned that Harvey Adelson was listed as manager again in October 2nd of 2015. Looking at this chart here, would that be just between number 26 and 27 there? At that point, he would become manager again?
Yes.
Okay, but all throughout the rest of the time, he worked there?
Yes.
Okay, so about 3/4 of the second chart we see, Harvey Adelson was manager during that time?
That's right.
For all those checks that were written?
That's correct.
And for both of those charts, Donna Adelson had signing authority?
Yes.
Who else had signing authority at Adelson Institute when these 44 checks were written?
There would have been Charlie and Harvey and her.
When you reviewed the phone records in this case, did Donna Adelson manage more than just the money at Adelson Institute? Did she also manage a lot of personal details of Charlie Adelson's life?
Yes.
Would she often book his travel as far as his plane trips, his hotels, whenever he wanted to take a trip?
Yes.
Would she remind him regularly to pay this bill on time, pay that bill on time, transfer this amount of money to this account? She helped him with all of his money.
Yes.
Did she kind of run his life, so to speak, as far as helping him keep up with the details of all of his day-to-day needs?
Yes.
When was the first check issued to Catherine McBanois here, looking at the summary?
The first check that shows up in her account is October 8th, 2014.
Okay, and what was the date on the check? Meaning the date that you're assuming that, so that's the date that it's written.
Right. So the date that was on the check was September 17th, 2014.
Okay, and was that almost 2 months to the day from the murder of Dan Markel?
It was.
Was that, I guess, about 3 months after she asked to be employed by Adelson Institute?
Yes.
And how often did Meg Benoit receive checks from the Adelson Institute after that?
2 times a month for almost 2 years.
Looking at these checks, can you show us? Do you have a clicker with those? I'll just ask you. On the bottom right of each check where it says Donna Sue Adelson on these checks, is that the signature line?
It is.
Thank you. Checks are kind of becoming an ancient art form, so just in case we have any jurors who haven't written one. The amount is here?
Yes, that's the amount that's written the check for.
All right. And then the amount's written out here, and then you mentioned a signature line, or I'm sorry, a memo line. Is this the memo line?
Yes, that's the memo line.
Okay, and what does this memo line say on these checks?
On, I believe all of them, let me just look for a second. Almost all of them have a date range. There's a few that don't.
And would that date range be the pay period?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Looking at these Adelson Institute checks to Catherine Meg Benoit, I have a couple of questions. When we're looking at the memo line for each, do the time ranges for the pay periods vary?
Yes.
They're not all for the same amount of days, in other words?
They're roughly around a 2-week period.
Are all of the checks for the same amount?
All except for the first one, which appears to be a 1-week pay period instead of 2.
Okay.
It was $203.79, which is half of the $407.58.
And so for these red check marks, the red checks denote all of the checks that were for the same amount?
Yes.
Were some of the checks advanced pay?
They were.
And what does that mean?
That means that she actually would have received the check or deposited the check before the end of the pay period.
So the check is posted before the pay period on the memo line is complete?
Yes.
And were any of these checks sequential?
They were.
And what does that mean?
It means they were all the next in line check numbers, 25, 26, 27.
So going back to our picture of the checks, excuse me.
So, yeah.
Are these 3 checks sequential here?
They are.
Okay, so 24, 25, 26.
Yes.
Let me go back to where we were. Since they were sequential, were they dated all at the same time, showing that they were written at all the same time?
No, they just have the sequential check numbers.
How many sequential checks did she receive in a row?
There was a total of 18 sequential checks. There's one set of 3, another set of 6, and another long set there. 1, 2.
Okay, so are these 3 checks sequential here that I'm pointing to?
Yes.
Okay. And then are these 6 checks sequential?
That's correct.
And then these first 6 check marks, were these sequential?
They were.
And then the final 3 here, checks that she received, are they sequential?
They are.
So this isn't 9 sequential checks. It's a set of 6 sequential checks and then another set is 3 sequential.
That's correct.
Okay. We talked about the ones that were sequential. Are there also a lot of the checks that are not sequential?
Yes.
And if they are not sequential, does that mean that those checks appear to have been written in the normal course of payroll?
It would appear so.
So when you're looking at the records, she may be check 1,000, and then another employee, a hygienist, might be check 1,001. Harvey Adelson might be check 1,002, and a front desk employee might be check 1,003.
That's correct.
And are the ones that are not sequential, do they not have a check mark in the summary in the sequential column?
That's correct.
For this last column, Catherine McBanwa known schedule. You said earlier that except for the first check, they were all the same amount, all 44. We know that she received a breast augmentation surgery in October of 2014. Was she receiving checks at that time in October of 2014? Was McBanwa receiving checks?
She was.
Was there any disruption in her paychecks from Adelson Institute during that time to reflect needing time off from a major surgery?
No, there was not.
After her surgery, was there any decrease in the amount she received from Adelson Institute that might reflect her being off or having a reduction in pay?
No.
Does the the date range in the memo section appear to be every 8 to 10 days, kind of like the other ones do?
Yes.
During that time? Now, what about the time of her trip? We saw she went to Santo Domingo on March 22nd of 2015.
We've hit the pause button on this testimony to bring you some breaking news out of California. The parents of a missing baby, Emmanuel, who's been the subject of a nationwide search, has just been charged with his murder. Both of those parents have. The police arrested Jake and Rebecca Harrow in their Southern California home on Friday. But it wasn't until today that charges were filed against the couple, including that murder charge. The search for the 7-month-old's body is still ongoing. Court TV's Matt Johnson is in California on the ground for us. He will bring us updates on what is happening there later today. We'll, of course, bring you the updates both here and online. We'll get back to that Adelson courtroom in just a moment. Let's get to our break. When we come back, more of the financial investigator testifying on the stand in the case against Donna Adelson. We are following the money here in Tallahassee, Florida, inside of that courtroom. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae. Thank you for being with us. It's week 1 of the Matriarch Mastermind murder trial for Donna Adelson. Things kicked off last week, and now we are deep in state witnesses. The 75-year-old is charged with murder, conspiracy, and solicitation to commit murder in the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markel, who was a law professor at FSU, the biggest school in town. Markel was shot and killed by a hitman in his garage in 2014. And prosecutors say Donna is the one who orchestrated it all, along with her son, Charlie Adelson. He was already convicted of murder back in 2023 and is currently serving a life sentence. He's also on the witness list for both the state and defense, so we could see him inside of this courtroom. Right now, inside of the courtroom, the jury is listening to testimony from a financial investigator who is detailing where the money moved through this plot and how much of it was through Donna. Let's pick it up right where we left off.
There's no reduction in her pay.
So nothing to reflect time off for going to another country during that time?
No.
No decrease in the amount she received for him having paid for it?
That's correct, no decrease.
What other records did you receive with respect to Catherine McBanwa's employment at Adelson Institute?
There was a subpoena that was issued for any and all employment records, and what we received back was a simple QuickBooks summary that you see there.
So this is the QuickBooks summary here?
Yes, that's correct.
Did the subpoena ask for any and all records of her employment from Adelson Institute?
It did.
Did the records, did they come with an employment application or timesheets or W-2s or tax filing records, performance evaluations, anything like that?
No.
A job description?
No.
Just this QuickBooks sheet?
That's correct.
What time period does this sheet cover?
This covers from the September 18th, 2014 to March 31st of 2016.
In your time doing forensic accounting, have you seen subpoenas for any and all employment records?
I have.
When a person has been employed with a business for for 2 years. Do you usually see some of those things I just listed out?
Yes.
Okay. So was it a surprise to you to just receive this QuickBooks printout?
Yes.
What was the date of the last check according to Adelson Institute's QuickBooks records that they handed over to law enforcement when they received the subpoena?
It's at the top, March 31st, 2016.
Okay, so according to their records, the last payment they made to her was on 3/31 of 2016.
That's correct.
When you looked at Catherine Benoit's account, were there any additional checks after March 31st of 2016 that were paid to her by Adelson Institute?
Yes, there was 3 additional checks that did not show up on the QuickBook records.
Looking at this graph, is this the 3/31/16 check that was dated and posted the same day?
Yes.
And so these would be the 3 checks that were deposited after March 31st?
Yes.
Do these 3 dates reflect the dates on those checks? Written? The
Yes.
dates written. And these would be the dates that Meg Benoit posted them to her account?
That's correct.
And the date range appears that her working period there were these 3 lines.
That's right.
Was the last check deposited into her bank account dated on May 12th, 2016 and posted on May 17th of 2016?
Yes.
If Garcia was arrested on May 25th of 2016 and the last check to Meg Benoit was May 12th, did it appear that she did not receive any checks according to her records after he was arrested on May 25th?
That's correct.
What was the total net amount received by Meg Benoit from Adelson Institute from September 2014 to May 2016?
The net amount that went into her account was $17,729.73.
Okay. I want to ask you a little bit more about this timing. Are you familiar with what law enforcement called the bump on April 19th of 2016?
I am.
All right. Looking at these last 3 checks that were deposited into her account, was there evidence of a check later than those in sequence that was actually posted to the bank account before the bump on April 19th of 2016?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the check here to Harvey Adelson on April 4th?
That's correct.
And that would have been before the bump?
It would.
But after in sequence of Meg Benoit's checks?
Yes.
So is it possible, given the sequence, that Donna Adelson stopped writing Meg Benoit checks after she was approached by the agent during the bump?
It appears that way.
Looking at Meg Benoit's income from 2013, how much cash did she deposit into her bank account for that year, the year before the murder of Dan Markel?
$13,035.
Looking at 2014, the year that Dan Markel was murdered, how much cash did she deposit into her account that year?
$46,820.
And were cash deposits the largest or the highest source of income for her that year?
It was.
And is that depicted here by the red part of the pie graph?
It is.
How much income, or how much...
Hitting the pause button on this testimony because we are approaching our break, but let's first bring in trial attorney Michael Jaffer to see what he thinks about what we are hearing so far. Michael, great to have you on. This is one of those witnesses where the big takeaway is Donna signed the checks. I mean, we're hearing more and more about what Donna did, but it's all after the incident, after the death of Dan Markel. Do you think her attorneys are going to explain this away by saying she just did what her son told her to do?
Yeah, I think so. I think they have to do that because at the end of the day, look, you know, her being on the checks is not evidence that she was paying this McBanawa, you know, for covering anything up. Because when you have any kind of a company, and this kind of sucks because probably members of the jury probably don't own a company where they have people sign checks for them, so they probably won't understand. But I can promise you that people who have companies don't always look at I probably issue 200 checks a week that I've never looked at. I have people in my office that do it. It happens. So it's evidence that Charlie did something nefarious, but it's not evidence that Donna was going along with it. So they are going to have to explain that away.
Do you think that well, we know the prosecution still has to prove the case against Charlie in front of this jury. Essentially, they don't just get to say to the jury that we've already proven it with the hitman and the convict. They still have to go back and prove all of the elements, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I like the way you framed it. They still have to prove that this happened. They still have to prove all the elements. But you know, she's way more detached than Charlie is. But her just being on the checks, her just being there, her being one of the signers, it's not doing it for me, but it might do it for the members of the jury. But the defense attorneys are going to have to explain how this lady made so many tens of thousands of dollars from a dental institute that she did not work for. And it fits in line with the theme of the prosecution. But so the defense do have their homework to do with this witness and with the evidence that's being introduced by the state.